Hey residents of Meepletown, today we are taking on the role of different civilizations and we're going to be building up our empires, and we're going to be taking over lands and destroying people and attacking, but trying not to grow too fast lest we get some unrest in our civilization.
It happens.
In the game of Imperium Classics. Let's get to the table and check it out.
That was kind of loud. All right, Meepletown, you stop clapping.
Stop clapping when you start.
We have Imperium Classics set up, and we're ready to play. Oh boy, there's a lot going on here with the cards, right?
There is a lot.
I think we just dive in. Now, this is a victory point game, and you're going to see victory points on the bottom of a lot of these cards. Like right here, this is just straight up a couple victory points you'll see there. There's also going to be cards that are going to give you like this. Victory points per certain symbols that you may have or other certain cards that you may have. There will be unrest cards, as Dean mentioned earlier in the video intro, that will actually lose points at the end of the game, and there's other cards like that. But we're going to be building empires. We're going to be battling back and forth. We may be giving each other unrest. We may be,
maybe attacking. We might. There's all kinds of stuff.
There's all kinds of things, and there's so many factions in this box. We'll talk about that in the gameplay, about all the different factions and stuff like that. But let's just dive in and start playing so we can show the folks
into the deep
how
end.
The game is played.
There's no shallow end of the pool in this game.
No, we're going, baby. We're going. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw up to my hand limit, which begins at 5. I'm first player. This Solstice is going... No, Dean's first player. It doesn't matter. I guess it depends on how we look at it.
This is after me, right? So if it's after me, you'd be the first player.
Yeah. But if we're going clockwise, it wouldn't be.
Okay.
You understand?
I
like clockwise.
All right.
You want to go first?
Let's just say you go first, and then this is after me. How about that?
You just I just disagreed with you, and then you just said the same thing again.
Because isn't that right? The Solstice comes after the second player. First player, second player.
What we could do is put it right here. Then it would just take up too much table space, and it would be my turn, your turn, then the Solstice. That's how it actually should be.
Yeah.
You all, let's just do it. This is actually just a marker to indicate the end of the round.
Look at it as a line and not a circle.
Whatever. We can do that. Okay, so on my turn, I am going to have 3 actions that I can do. I also have 5 exhaust tokens, and I'll go ahead and share with you. I'm going to go ahead and start off. I'm the Greeks in this game, and if you read here at the bottom, it's going to say that I can exhaust I can use an exhaust in order to break through for this if I spend 2 actions, which you'll see what that is here in a second. But I want to point out that I'm going to get 1 victory point per 7 cards that I have at the end of the game. If I choose this path, I don't have a special ability, but I'm going to get 1 victory point for every 3 cards. And so all of the... I called it factions earlier, but it's not. It's empires. Yeah. All of the empires are going to have that to where you can get victory points easier or have a special ability. I like my ability. So I just mentioned that to say I can use an exhaust token to exhaust that and do that once per round. But let me see what I have here. Okay. I probably should have done this before. And I should have also given us our resources before we started playing.
No, that's right.
Goodness gracious. Okay.
All right, so we're going to get 1 of these victory point. I forget what these are. I forget what they're
I was in such a rush to get this game recorded, to like get into having the fun of playing the game.
You didn't give us anything.
It's materials.
So 3 building materials, 2 population, and 1
progress token.
Progress. There we go. I was like, it starts with a P.
That's right.
Slippy, slappy, Swanson?
I don't know.
Samsonite. No.
What? I don't even know what's happening right now.
What? Dumb and Dumber?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. My bad, dude. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
I apologize. I'm thinking about stuff. Okay, that's how we start. These progress tokens are victory points at the end of the game. So, man, there's a little bit to think about here. I've got 5 cards to start with my hand. I also can break through or acquire some of these cards potentially. So you really have to kind of look through your cards, see what's going to be. Yeah, I probably should start doing that early in the game. I could do that. Yeah, that would really irritate Dean. I'm going to do that. Sorry, Dean.
Oh, right off the bat.
I'm going to show you. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to play this card, which is going to cost me an action. It says that I gain a population, so now I have 3. And then I can garrison a card, which means I can put a card underneath it, which thins my deck out, but it stays for scoring at the end. So I could like put an unrest under there, which would, help me to not pull unrest out and clog my deck up, which we have. But the negative is I would still lose the 2 points. Now there are ways that these are going to get picked up, and if they do, then every card underneath them gets picked back up as well. That's going to happen, especially with the Greeks that I'm using. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to play Greek Mercenaries, which is I'm going to gain a progress token. I'm going to steal 2 materials from Dean.
I actually really need those.
I know. And Dean's going to gain a population.
that helps.
So the interesting thing about this is because of all the different empires, civilizations that you have, some of them are more attacky and not. So if you get really... You could play this with some that aren't as bad. But honestly, though, with the Greeks, there's only like 1 or 2 of those. So it doesn't feel that bad, especially when you know that they could play it. So that's my second action to take place. My third one is I'm going to play this, Advance, which says pay 3 materials to acquire or 5 to break through, which that's why it was perfect for me. For a symbol that is the leaf symbol or the civilization, I believe, symbol. And agriculture, I don't remember. So
it is uncivilized, uncivilized.
Okay, uncivilized.
Yeah. Just like your comments.
I'm going to break through. So the difference between acquiring and breakthrough is this. If I acquire a card, then I have to take any other cards underneath it. So I have to take the unrest. In addition, if I break through, I don't. I can just actually take the card. I can leave the unrest or discard the unrest, which is good because that's going to clog my deck up and lose 2 points at the end of the game. Also, if I break through, I can blindly draw from one of these, and these actually correspond with the symbols that are below it. This deck, the main deck here, I could say I'm going for an uncivilized card, and I can just rifle through the deck until I get to the first one and see that. So I can break through for the civilized or uncivilized. So the interesting thing about this, I know I'm kind of teaching a lot here, but it kind of needs to be done.
You need to,
I mean, I'm trying to, I know Dean's probably like ready to take his turn, but the reason I'm not going to take this yet is I cannot play this card because it has an empire symbol until I become an empire. Right now, and then when that happens, then my barbarian cards are no longer good and I can't play those. So that's an interesting kind of mid-game twist that takes place, and you have to prepare for that. So this does me no good. So I'm really looking at these 2 right now, which says exhaust when you gain materials from a water card that's in play, which would be the symbols, like the floodplain here, which I've got one here already. So if I gain any materials from that, I exhaust to gain a victory point. Okay, also can get 2 victory points per one of those symbols at the end of the game. That's not bad. I know that I'm going to play a lot of these. I just know with the Greeks I am. During the solstice, which is what Dean and I talked about earlier, I can discard a card to gain a material or a population or draw a card. I used the city quite a bit last time in the game. I'm not in love with either one of these. I do like the victory points that I could gain from that one, but I don't love them. I'm going to just go to Vegas, and I'm going to flip over this first one.
Uh-oh.
Oops, that's the wrong deck. I'm going to flip over this first one. I didn't really
walked in the wrong casino
was.
there.
All right, so this goes into my hand. This says, I don't know what it says. I'll have to read it when I pull it down. Exhaust. Oh, yeah, that's good. It can be good if I play that right. It can be good. I'm going to be able to treat 1 wheat as 3. I know that's not a sack of money, but I think it looks like a sack of money. It's like probably, I think it's like olive oil or something like that. We'll see. Okay, I'm done.
I think it's supposed to be.
That was a lot.
So that's all 3 of your actions.
That's all 3.
Do you want to do your discard stuff?
Yeah, sorry, my bad. Oh my gosh. I was sitting back there thinking about all this stuff I've got going on. I know. Okay, I'm going to go fast.
I'm kidding.
Now at this point in time, I can discard as many cards as I want. I actually want to keep this card. You usually want to rifle through your deck as absolutely fast as possible. But I need this card because I want to get more of these. So I'm going to keep the Settlers card. All right, so I'm discarding 4 of 1 so that I can draw 4. And I bet I'm going to get a bunch of unrest in my hand. Probably because I didn't draw 1 last time. And look at there, 2 out of my 5 cards are unrest. So that's not good. I take any exhaust tokens off at this point. I didn't have any, so there we go.
All right, the last thing you do on your turn is you're going to take a progress token. You'll put it on one of those cards. And that gives you a little more inspiration for buying that one. However, an encouragement to buy that one. But
inspiration.
Yeah. But you cannot destroy these. So anytime you're going to exile cards, you can't exile the ones that have those progress tokens on them. All right, so it is my turn, right?
And I place this here because I don't think Dean's going that early to grab that card. Because it's going to clog his deck up.
I can tell you what I planned on doing originally, and that was to use my building material to build something out there. But
I screwed that up.
You big bully.
I did.
Took it from me. All right, so I'm going to spend an action to put this land into play, and that's going to give me 2 building materials. Do you mind handing me that, John? Mm-hmm. And then I can garrison a card as well. I'm actually not going to. If I had an Unrest, I would actually consider doing that just to get it out of my deck. But, alas, I do not. So I'm going to...
Alas.
Then, I'll play this card, which is my Conquer card. And when I play that, I can pay 2 population to acquire a card or 3 to break through. And I will break through because I don't want to take any more Unrest. And I can do that for the those blue cards, whatever they're called, or for lands. Now, I benefit by getting lands. I didn't mention this. Hey, I should probably start this off. I thought it was like my 7th turn.
We should be more thematic, Dean. You know why we're not thematic in this game is because I was the one who taught it.
I'm the Macedonians, and with the Macedonians...
Tributary.
Yeah, there we go, tributary. So with Macedonians, I'm going to, whenever I play those land cards from my discard pile, I'll gain 2 building material. And again, just like John, I could have done the other side. Oh, goodness.
Here, let me.
Sorry, I was holding it weird. I could have gained a victory point for every land that I have, but instead I'll get 1 for every 2 land cards that I have.
From your discard pile, though. You gotta have some cards that let you play from your discard, huh?
Right, that's the only way I'll get the ability from that. All right, so
the Greeks versus the Macedonians.
1 action, 2 actions to do this one. So I'm going to break through by paying those 3 population, and I'm going to gain one of the. You said tributaries. Is that what it is?
Yep.
So I'm gonna need your help here.
Okay.
There we go.
Let's do it for you.
There we go.
Right,
so I'm basically, since I'm doing the breakthrough,
here.
I'm going to take the very first one that pops up.
The Ionians.
The Ionians. So this goes into my hand. So for a free play, I can return up to 2 Unrest cards from my hand or discard pile.
That's
and then
killer.
Put this card in my history. Unfortunately, I don't have any yet, so this will come in handy later on because I do have 2 Unrest in my draw pile.
That's basically like 4 points plus how many points are on that card?
Yeah.
How many are on that card?
Oh, 3 victory points. And
that could be that if you play that right. Now it goes to your history, which you're done with it at that point in time.
Yeah.
So
which is okay because especially early on to get that card, that can be huge. But it's just going to have to play out right.
Yeah.
The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play Philip II, and that's going to allow me to acquire any of those cards out there. Oh, I should have thought about that. Actually, yeah, I'll do that. So I'm going to, and that card's also going to go into my history. So I will take, and it's acquire, and so if I gain the card that has an Unrest on it, I will also have to gain that card. So I'm going to take the city. I don't mind taking an Unrest at this point, knowing that I'll probably be able to get rid of that with my Ionians card. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to discard all of these, mainly because I want to try to get through my deck pretty quickly. I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knowing that I'm probably going to get some Unrest in this hand. And then the last thing I'll do is take my Progress token and put it out on a card. Ooh, that's pretty good. The Assyrians came out. Is that card. What I want to do is try to steer John away from that. I don't know if I'll be able to or not, but I'm going to take this and I'll put it right there in the uncivilized
Maybe try to make
stack.
something a little more intriguing for me, huh?
There we go. And now we get to the solstice phase. I don't have any cards that do anything for the solstice.
I don't know. Then it would just simply say solstice.
Yeah.
What Dean's talking about, by the way, the faster we get through our deck, the quicker we're going to be able to get to these cards. And also means the quicker we're going to be able to then become an empire when we get to this bottom card.
That's right.
All right. So I've got 3 Unrest cards. This is interesting. I can pay 1 population to acquire one of these, which would be nice. I could also use it to return one of these 2 rests that I have in my hand. But at this point, I'm just going to keep the rest in my hand, and I'm going to pay 1 of these to acquire this card right here for my first action. For my second action, oops, this needs to be flipped over. There's a forest there. So for my second action, I am going to go ahead and just play this and allow me to garrison a card. I'm going to go ahead and put this to get this out of my hand. I know that with the Greeks, I'm going to pick this up at some point and try to get rid of that. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and garrison it right now so I don't have to deal with that card. And I also have to exile a card from the market now. And as Dean mentioned earlier, I cannot exile one of the ones that is there. I'm going to exile this, which is going to go over here. This is going to flip. Dean should have placed, anytime that you have a, you're good.
Oh, no.
Anytime that you have a card that's basically not a land card, you're going to place this unrest underneath it. So that was my second action to go ahead and do that. My third action is going to be, it actually worked out really well for me that Dean had this. I do like the Assyrians because it's a free play, meaning you don't have to use your action. It's worth 3 victory points and you gain a population. That's kind of nice. I mean, it's just like a free population. So I'm good with that. I mean, it is a card in your hand. Dang, it is a card in your hand that you have to deal with. But early in the game, I think it's good. I only have 2, so I have to acquire it. Is that worth it? See, I kind of want to get these out too because I have a card in here that's going to help me get to some big time cards if I can get 3 of those out and discard them. I'm going to... I am going to do it. I'm just going to acquire the Assyrians, which means I'm going to acquire that unrest as well. And that's my last action. So I'm going to discard. Man, I had a solstice card here that I would like to have gotten out.
Another one of those cards came out.
But that's okay.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Right.
The, how do you pronounce that? Shin, maybe? Allows you to increase your hand size. Which is one of my favorite cards out there.
I love that card. You have the unrest under. Okay, so I do get to share this now. Now I'm going to draw back up to my hand. So I've only got 1. So what I'm going to do is take this top card here, which are usually pretty good cards, decent cards. I'm going to take it in here and I'm going to shuffle it up. That's really it. I didn't put a progress token out either. So go ahead. I'm not going to think too hard about it.
All right. I will then play my... let's see, we'll play this card, which is going to allow me to exhaust. That's going to cost me an action. I can exhaust this card, which means putting one of my exhaust tokens on there to play a land card from my discard pile, which is what I need to be able to do to really take advantage of my passive ability from the Macedonian. So I will do that. I'm going to exhaust that one, which uses an exhaust token, not your action token. So I will look through my discard pile, and I will play this one, which is going to gain me a population when I put that in play. I can also garrison a card. A lot of times I really do like to garrison my my unrest cards because it'll allow me to unclog my deck. But the problem is I've got that card that's going to let me get rid of those. So at this point I don't really want to do that. So I've taken one action. I'm going to, for my second action, this is... I don't have a lot of great options here. So I think I will play this card, another land card, which is going to let me gain a population. So I now have 2 population, and I'm going to use that population. I really hate to do this, but I will anyway. That was my second action, by the way. This is my third action. I will play my Conquer to play 2
You've got lands for days out there.
Population, and that's kind of my bag, right? Like getting a bunch of lands out there to get points and also helping me to get things. The problem is I don't want to put this one out because if I would have held off, it was in my discard pile and I was able to use this next time, then I would be able to use my ability, but I would have wasted an action this turn if I don't do that. So
did you get your victory points? I mean,
I don't get victory points.
I mean, your things.
I don't know if I did. I don't think I did. No. I had.
You didn't because I'm about to steal 2 of them.
I even said that's right.
Wait, I just
in my mind before I got that, when I played that card, I was like, I can get these so that John can go ahead and steal it.
Well, that's what I've got the card, and I was sitting there going, he has his 3. That's why. Okay, anyways.
But the thing that I will do.
But you
right
also
now,
gain a population, so it's not like you may think that's the meanest thing in the world, but they get one token for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And I don't mind.
In fact, if he gets a ton of those, he might actually like if I do it because it would help him get population.
Yeah, population for me helps me really almost as much as those building materials do to be able to get stuff out there, so it's fine. I would have liked to have not taken that unrest, but I really loved having that increasing my hand size by 1. So I will wrap up my turn. I'm going to put this.
But he does have to play the card in order for him to get that hand size by 1. Sorry.
That's right.
So until it's in his tableau.
That's right. I can't do it yet until I get it out in my tableau. So I'm going to draw a card. This card is going to flip over since that was my last one in there. I will shuffle these up, and really, I'm hoping that this round I can get rid of my unrest cards. That's my hope. Shuffle these up. Grab 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Put these here. Did you mention that when you flip this one over, you can't do that multiple times in a turn? Did you mention that?
I didn't mention that. You have to put the exhaust token. I didn't because then you leave it again. But if there's a way for you to get to it earlier, it's at the very end of your turn that you remove these. So there's no way to, like Dean just said, get that twice in one turn. One
real fast. I think I cheated earlier. I'm pretty sure I played this Philip card. Whenever I played Philip II, I actually have to put this in my history, and I neglected to do that. So I'll just go ahead and do that now and draw a new card.
Okay, so I do want to make mention that something that I said a little bit wrong earlier when I said this is a victory point game. Yes, most of the time it is. However, if we run out of these unrest cards, the game ends immediately, and whoever has the least amount of unrest wins. So we are running low on unrest cards. We're actually not getting rid of them as much as we have before. So anyways, that's never even come close to happening in games that I've played, but right now it actually is a little bit.
I don't think you put enough unrest cards out there. You didn't have all of them in there.
Yeah, I think I didn't.
That's why. We actually wouldn't. We didn't plan on playing a full playthrough. In fact, we can just play through one more round.
I think we're going to play through one more round. But still, we have a lot more out there than we usually do. Okay, so I've kind of got my turn ready to roll. I didn't have that in the wrong place. I'm going to go ahead and play those Assyrians that I had last time. So my first move is to gain one of these. It's a free play. I don't have to use one of my actions. Sweet. Man, I haven't used my Greeks yet either much, but I'm happy with what I've got. So I'm going to gain another victory point here. Did you place the progress token out at the end of your last turn?
Yes, okay. I did.
Dean, I am going to steal these, and you're going to gain a population.
All right, I'll take it.
Okay, so that's my... my first action, because the first one was free. First one that cost something. I don't have enough to do that. I'm going to go ahead and play this and garrison an unrest, because that allows me to do that. I gain a material, and then I can garrison that. So that is my second action. And then for my... I was tempted to go ahead and use this, but I'm not at this point in time. I'm close. All right, then I'm just going to play this forest card out here, and it doesn't really do anything except for it says I may garrison a card. I don't really want to garrison this one. So that is that. I'm going to discard that so that I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Almost done with that again. Boom, your turn.
All right.
We know
you put a progress token out there?
I'm doing it. We didn't even... No, never mind. We never flipped over a card. Oh my gosh.
A lot going on.
Let's just make that corruption even better.
There we go.
See, you can do that in thinking, I'm going to go, I really want that. If I can flip to Empire, get closer to it faster, I could grab that, so forth and so on. So.
Absolutely.
And you can get it before you become an Empire. It's just going to clog your deck up.
Yeah. I have some interesting decisions to make on my turn. I'll go ahead and show you my hand, and John can see it too. So I have 3 unrest cards in my hand right now.
Oh, yeah. That's not a bad thing necessarily.
Right. So we've only been activating as our actions. So there's actually 3 options that you have. One is to innovate.
My apologies for not saying that.
No, that's fine. Most of the time you're going to be activating, but sometimes you're going to want to innovate, which is to discard your cards, and then you can break through one of the cards up here. So you can just take those in your hand. Another thing you can do is the revolt, which is where I would return all of these unrest up here. And then I would discard my hand, and that would be all I do. Now here's the issue that I have right now. That you might look at my hand and say, why would you not do that?
Well, you have
one is I have this card which allows me to increase my hand size, which is one that I really want to get in play early on, so that I can start taking advantage of that. Right. And the other reason is I have that card in here that's going to allow me to get rid of these 2 of these unrest to put back on the pile, which means I think I would only have 1 unrest, maybe another one in my deck. So I'm kind of thinking through this. I think what I'm going to do though is I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm going to innovate. So I'm going to discard these just because I kind of like the idea of one of the cards out there, and I can go ahead and get that into my hand. And then when I get that card out, then I'll be able to play that later. So I'm going to take this shrine.
So this is his whole turn.
This will be my whole turn. So the shrine allows me to exhaust this to pay 1 building material to draw a card, and then during Solstice, I may discard a card to return a Unrest to the discard pile, which is another reason why I didn't mind having the Unrest in my hand right now. So,
but you'll have to discard cards, but
yeah.
not
So I didn't mind doing that. It's not an awful turn. Just doesn't feel as exciting, I guess.
I guess not.
All right, so that's it.
That's it.
Oh, I did have another one.
3 rounds now. We would do the
I
just
got
rejected you.
You got 5 Unrest in my hand.
Woo, I know that's the problem, dude.
I know.
The Solstice would happen again. You didn't get to see it, but it may be something Dean just explained, right? At Solstice, he may discard a card to return that. So you have cards like that can be in your tableau.
Some of them
Only
force you. Some of them force you, which is we'll talk about that in some of the gameplay. I think.
Okay, sounds good. Art and components.
Art and components. Let's talk about it.
What do you think?
Well, I will talk about the card art, which I think is fantastic.
Who did the card art?
This is the Miko.
The Miko
did the card art on this. Who did a lot of the.
I'm gonna start picking these up and just as you're kind of talking, just sharing some of the art.
North Sea Saga and the West Kingdom Saga. If you're familiar with that art, this actually has a different feel. Oh, jinx!
Whoa!
To me, but it still has the Miko flavor to it.
Yes,
but it's not exactly like the other art. I really like it. I think it's fantastic.
Oh, dude, I think it's absolutely. I love how it has the Miko flair, as you said, but definitely looks. I mean, this look at Philip. The second that doesn't look like some of the stuff from the North Sea and stuff. He's done plenty of other things. Yeah, but those are like his big games that you've seen. The art on this is beautiful. It's phenomenal. I love it.
Yep.
You like the box?
I love the box. Yeah, I think it's really
good,
cool.
Huh?
Mm-hmm. I will say so overall I think it's great. It's mostly just cards in the box.
Yeah.
A couple negatives for me. I don't love any of these. I don't like the look of any of these. They are clear, which is nice. Like you know what building material is, you know what the population, the progress tokens, they all look very clear. The other this is almost a huge negative for me, although it is what it is, I guess. Mm-hmm. The insert is fantastic. Except where you have
it's annoying.
Giant pool of just
help me. It's like when my wife needs to help me take my pants off because I have to. My skinny jeans.
I don't want
my skinny jeans are too tight, Dean.
I can't do it now. You're on your own.
Actually I've never had. I don't think I've ever had that actually happen.
Oh! But you have just this giant well of hey, throw everything in there that's not a card.
All right, see that?
I don't like that.
I hate it. Because I just turned when I showed the box, you heard it all jiggle, shut down, and it was just like, what the heck?
Now, I guess I kind of get it because, there's not a lot of room outside of that center area where you can put things. And I haven't tried to bag it up and see if it'll
I haven't
go
either.
in there, but maybe that'll help. I don't know, but I don't know if you can fit it all in there because once you get all those tokens in there, it's filled to the brim.
It's pretty full, yeah. Because you see that how full it. I mean, it's like halfway full now, and we don't have any of these in there. So I wouldn't say it's all the way totally completely, but you also have these pieces that you've got to put and lay them in there as well. So I'm normally not a person this is beautiful. I agree with Dean. Let's say positive. It has exact spots on all your cards. It looks great. But I'm usually not one to complain about stuff like that. But I agree. I don't like that.
No, hold it up there one more time. I think what I'll end up doing. I'm only going to play this game at 2-player or solo, and so probably what I'll do is take some of these and put them in a bag because you don't need everything that's in there. There's a lot of action tokens and stuff. And there is a slot on the side that you could actually fit a plastic bag of stuff in there, clearing some room and putting stuff in baggies in there. I think that's probably going to be my solution. I just haven't done it yet. It's not the end of the world. I've seen worse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
At least it has an insert.
I also agree that the progress tokens and everything, it's interesting. Dean kind of made mention, but I'll clarify that it's got here's 3 of them. Here's the 3 different types. All right. Right here. And so you can tell that they're slightly different sizes, which is cool, but not that when you're just
not big enough,
not that slightly different. And then you can get I almost handed him one of those 5ers. I mean, even in the middle of the gameplay, I noticed it immediately. But, that's a 5er, that's a 10er. I don't love that. You know what I mean? It's not just super clear on that, but it's okay.
Yeah. For everything else that was done so well, that just seems like kind of an oversight.
Yeah, the rest of the art is absolutely fantastic.
It also, I'm going to keep going. It doesn't give you the feel like you're playing this civilization game, and these tokens are these neon-ish colors, you know? In that neon light feel around it. It just doesn't seem to fit with
what's going on
with the theme of this. Anyway.
It's like the 80s. It's you're in the 80s. And it's like Bill and Ted. And we're going back in time.
I see now.
And and that's why it's like that.
That makes sense.
This is Bill and Ted, the board game.
All right, but let's get on to the gameplay because that, we spent enough time there. Gameplay is fun. I will say this is not something you're just going to say, hey, I'm going to pick this up. I've played deck builders before. I'm just going to pick this up and start playing. No, you're not. This is a pretty in-depth game. Now, once you learn the rules, it's not really that bad. And once you know some of the keywords. So when you're looking in the rule book, about 2 pages of it are how to play the game, which is fairly simple. The setup is probably the biggest thing, but the gameplay itself is fairly simple.
These are all keywords.
It's the keyword part that really might make you go back to the rule book a decent amount. There's, how many pages is that? Like 6 pages of keywords or something like that? It's a lot. So it's on the heavier side of
5.5.
Any of the deck builders that I've played, probably. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry. There's also, and we'll talk about this, but there are in Classics, which is what we're playing now, there are 8 different civilizations.
I'm out of here.
What? What are you doing? What's happening? Oh, you're going to go get the box for that?
I'm going to grab Legends.
Carthaginians, Celts, Greeks, Macedonians, Persians, Romans, Scythians, and Vikings. Dean has Legends, which he has played. I have not played any of that.
Yeah, just to show you this, it's actually the same thing. Like the box idea is the same. It has the the different factions on there. The insert's fine. It's the same. All of that's the same.
And you can play them together
as Classics. You can absolutely.
Okay, can I talk about some of the games you play?
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay? Cool. I didn't want to step on your toes.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Okay, Dean's right that there is a decent amount going on in this, and he's right about the keywords. I did feel like in my first game, I didn't really, maybe halfway through, I wasn't really referencing the book anymore, and I was good to go.
Yeah, because the card directions are good enough. I think.
And you have your kind of primary deck of your civilization. You are going to get different, some of these different ones there, but after you kind of learn what's going on in your deck, it's pretty simple. You're boom, boom, boom. You're making your plays or whatever. So that didn't bother me too much. I would say this is probably like a 3.5 weight, probably on BGG or something about that is what I would give it. Would you give it more than that even?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I just say that.
I'll talk about it in a minute.
There's a learning curve, but the gameplay isn't that complex, I guess. So what do I like about the game? I really like the way that you have to rifle through your deck fast. I like that tug and pull of, man, I want to keep this card because I want to use it next round. But if I can get through that, I can get to some of my better cards here. If I can get through these, I can get some of these cards. I can be really, really powerful in the game and score me a whole lot of points. I like that. I like that a lot. I also like the fact that these civilizations do play differently. Yeah. Like there is a joy to exploring and trying to figure out the puzzle of, okay, how does this work, the best? And then as you're doing that, finding these cards that really fit and mesh. And the challenge of, depending on your player count, I agree with Dean. I will never play this with more than 2 players. Yeah. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. But the challenge of, man, should I go ahead and grab that or just risk it and hope that Dean doesn't take that card because I really would like to get this into play because if I don't play it, then I'm going to want to discard it so that I can get through the cards there. Yeah. And so all those kind of tugs and pulls are very fun in this game. Yeah, yeah.
I will say, so kind of going back a little bit to the weight of it, playing Classics is much more clear-cut than Legends is in my experience with the factions that I've played. So with Legends, and I like this in the book, both the rule books are exactly the same, by the way. So it shows you, it shows the classics in here. It shows the difficulty level of the different characters. So the one John's playing is the Greeks, I think is the heaviest one in this one. Is it? But then you get over to Legends and you have the Arthurians, which
won
is
with
5
the Greeks
star.
And lost miserably with someone that was supposed to be easy.
Oh, really? And then the Utopians is 5 star. And I will say,
the last 2 games we played.
There is a significant difference. Whoa!
Oh my gosh!
Guess we're not
finishing the video.
Game. There's a significant difference in those Arthurians than the other ones.
You're going on quests
for a lot of different reasons, and it's set up and everything. Like with Arthurians, you never move out of the barbarians. You're just barbarians. You're never moving it into an empire. There's the Atlanteans where you're never a barbarian society. You're only an empire.
You were born in sophistication.
That's right. Instead of having these cards, what are these cards again? Not your nation cards, but they're
civilized cards.
No, that's not right.
What are you talking about?
No. This stack.
Oh, my bad, dude. I'm sorry. I just saw that and I thought that's what you were.
It's all these keywords, but anyway, you don't actually have these. You have quests that you go on, and you're completing you have a new end game condition when you find the Holy Grail. So like there's a lot of different nuances to that, and it is playing through those specifically. I was playing through my first half of that game and I was like, what is happening? It's just so different. So I would recommend in that sense to really kind of start with the classics. Even if I got more excited about playing some of the Legends, but the classics, had I not started with that, I would have really probably shut this game off a little bit. Yeah.
That's a good point, because like you might get excited about the civilizations that they have there, but much
start with the classics. I highly recommend that.
And the game is not that expensive. I mean, I think I paid like $40 for it. It's not that bad. So if you really think you're going to like this potentially, I do actually agree with that. And start with that one and then see if you like it, and then kind of move on. You could even sell that and grab the Legends, if you want to do that.
Yeah, there you
go. A couple other things I'll just mention about the gameplay. I like the way the unrest works in this game a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's clogging up your deck. Those really difficult decisions sometimes of do I want to acquire or break through. Maybe you don't have the resources to break through, or maybe you just don't want to spend them, but you're like, okay, fine, I can take that because Dean says now I've got a card over here that helps me get rid of unrest. So maybe it's not so bad to grab a little bit of unrest. I really, really like that. I like that in the game a whole lot. There was something else I was going to say, but I didn't say it. I will go back to mentioning there are some kind of take that cards depending on what civilizations you're playing with in this. As you saw here, and I did the take that to Dean, that was really like the only one that I had. It's the only one I have in my original deck here. Dean had one we playing a few times ago where he was giving me unrest, which was a challenge for me because I had a civilization that had a lot of unrest. So
yeah, so there is that in there.
So there is that. For sure, but I like it. I would say my biggest negative to this game is it can be lengthy in between turns. That's why I don't want to play with more than 2 players.
Yeah,
it reminds me of some of the things I don't love about Empires of the North or Imperial Settlers. Is sometimes I can sit back and just be like Dean was. My first turn as I was explaining things, it's just like, all right. Now, the cool thing is you have your cards and you can be thinking, but after you've made your decision, sometimes towards the end of the game, you can be like, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to exhaust this, and I'm going to keep doing this. Like at the beginning, it doesn't bother me at all. But towards the end, you can do these huge actions, which while you're doing them, they feel awesome. Fun combos, you feel great. But when you're the person just sitting back watching the other play doing it, you're like, let me check my, you know what I mean?
And in that sense, you're not really necessarily engaged in what's going on at the table because you're also trying to figure out how you're going to build those combos with the hands, your hand and Tableau and all that.
Which is, for me, in my personal taste, I tend to like games that are a little faster paced that I'm playing. I've noticed that about myself. Like turns are a little bit quicker. And when it gets to some of this, so that is a negative for me. Besides that, it's almost all positive. I really do like this game quite a bit.
Yeah, there's all the things that John's talked about and how the card play works out. I really enjoy that quite a bit too. It's this puzzly nature of what's out here, what's in my hand, what do I have in my Tableau, how can I best make this work? And I like that. I tend to like that a lot in games. My big thing is not necessarily the time between turns, but in this game, it's long for one, right? I mean, you can...
That's a good...
It can be, especially early on. You can play a game in under an hour, I would say, with 2 players.
Well,
roughly.
Because we've watched videos listened to podcasts, watched videos, and I know that's a big complaint that this game can take 2.5 hours to play.
It can.
Your first game, absolutely. The last game Dean and I played, I timed it. It was 1 hour and 10 minutes.
That's right. Just over an hour.
And that was with 2 new civilizations that we hadn't played before. And but they weren't that different from what we've played. So it wasn't a huge learning curve there. We played it pretty quick. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. The other part of that, though, is, and this is a personal thing because I don't think everyone's going to feel this way, but for me, when I'm playing this game, it feels like, wow, I'm doing a lot of cool stuff. I have no idea how I'm going to get points at the end of the game.
You have to make sure you're getting points.
You do, but it's not always at the forefront of what you're thinking necessarily. You're just thinking, what cards can give me things so I can get more stuff? And eventually you think, well, probably I'll get some points in there. You really have to think through that. But for me, I kind of had those feelings of, wow, I'm doing tons of stuff. Who knows where I stand with John? Who knows how many points I have compared to him? And that's a bit of a knock for me. Like I want to have a little more of knowledge of control of what's going on with the faction compared to the other players at the table.
Not for you, a positive for me. I actually really like that kind of
not knowing
where you stand. Well, I'll get to that. I like should I take, like, I almost took this card just for the points because I knew I would get some of those out if I wanted to go that direction, though I didn't care about that card a ton. And so, like, I feel like the more I play it, I like that better. I like that even more because when I first started playing it, like, yeah, you just feel like, I want to do everything, and oh man, I'm doing all this awesome stuff. And you're right, you may not score very many points, but I think the more you play it, the more you're thinking strategically about how do I actually score points.
Yeah.
With my civilization that I have. What was the other thing that you just said? And then I'll end it.
Not knowing.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm kind of mutual on it. Neutral.
You mutually
Mutual
feel
funds.
the same way that I do about it.
A few mutual on it.
You're neutral.
Yep. So, final thoughts?
What is that?
That's it.
All
I'm
right.
kind of mutual on
Was
it.
that your
You can
final
quote me
thought?
on that.
What does that even mean? Yeah, final thoughts. I can go ahead and start. So,
Okay.
I really enjoy this game. I think this game is a lot of fun, and one of the those two knocks that I said at the end are pretty significant knocks for me. The length of the game, it can feel a little bit longer. It can feel like I don't really know how many points I have, or I don't know how many points they have. Like that, those are kind of negatives for me.
I'm generally ready to be finished by the end of the game. It's not one of those games where,
But that being said,
Same
the
page.
gameplay itself, I think, is a lot of fun. How the game plays out, I love how the different factions actually feel different, and I love the exploration part. You know, once I play a faction for the first time, I'm usually like, oh, really wish I would have thought through how this would have played into my strength. And I would play, I would want to play it again, knowing like, oh, I know how to play this faction a little bit better now. And then you get better and better. So I love that. And when you've got 8 factions in Classics and 8 factions in Legends, that makes for a lot of gameplay, right? That's a lot of hours of playing and exploring. I love all of those things. But I'm going to give this one an 8, which is a really good score.
That's a really good score.
But this one really, just the gameplay alone, could be more like an 8.5 or 9, something like that, if it was a shorter game, and I felt like I had a little bit more control. And again, that control piece
I understand.
is not a knock on the game as much as it is just a personal preference of I feel like I don't have as much control over what I'm doing compared to what John is doing.
That's good. One thing I did fail to mention that I really do like about this game is that there's certain deck builders, not all deck builders, but certain ones where you kind of build your deck and you're just running it. And you kind of stop getting cards. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of games like that. This one, you never stop getting cards because you're always trying to score points with your cards.
Yeah.
And new cards are coming out where you can get, oh wow, I could grab that and I get 2 points per water symbol there, and I've already got, I've only got 1, but I've got 4 of those. That's worth 8 points. Let me grab that thing. I do like that because you don't ever stop, do you? Like we never get into a point to where we're like, I'm not buying any cards. It may slow down a little bit.
Although that's not a terrible strategy because you're also trying to get through your deck really quick, and you might want to get these cards and these cards.
That's right. And even when you're getting these, you're feeling like you're accomplishing something, though, like something new is fresh. That's one thing that I get frustrated with some deck builders about is that I feel like the beginning is exciting. The end is just exchange this for this and do this and exchange that for that. And I keep doing the same thing over and over again. I do not feel like that in this game.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit, but anyways, I like the game mechanics. I like the tough pools that you have to have between playing cards, discarding cards, which cards, and when tactically to grab certain cards, when tactically to play certain cards, the unrest and having to deal with the unrest in your deck and deal with that. I like all that about the game. My big negative for me is towards the end, the turns can get really lengthy, and I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Dean. I wanted to love this game, like top 50. This is amazing. I don't love it. I do like it. I'm going to go 8 as well.
Oh, we're both 8.
Yeah, I'm going to go 8. I'm going to say, which is I'm usually willing to play is 7. 8 is I'm going to suggest it. I'm absolutely going to suggest this game. It's just not one that I'm going to constantly suggest because the game length can be long, and I won't suggest it at a higher than 2-player count. I do get bored waiting for Dean to take forever on his turn, not because he's bad, because he's good. And you're going pow, and you're doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So
very cool game. Highly recommend. From both of us, we really recommend this one.
Good price on the game.
I would say we would both recommend starting with the Classics. Mm-hmm. You haven't played the Legends, but you know enough about it. And I've played several factions from Legends.
I've watched playthroughs of this.
Which is cool because it adds a lot of new things, and I really like that. And I think that Classics could potentially get stale, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I haven't got to that point, but it could. But Legends really ramps things up. So that's our recommendation there. 8 from John, 8 from me. Tell people how they can get in touch with
We
us.
agreed today.
We did.
How about that?
Doesn't always happen, does it?
I don't like the backhanded slap. And, it kind of feels like in your face. You know that your color matches? See that?
That's why I wore the
You
purple
do that
today.
purple one. I don't know if you can see that on camera. What am I doing? If you're enjoying our channel, we would love for you to subscribe to it. If you'd like to support what we're doing, go to patreon.com/Meepletown. We're at Meepletown Games on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we're Board Game Geek Guild 3407.
That's the best you've ever done. Thanks for coming down to Meepletown. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to our Patreon supporters for making content like this possible. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/Meepletown. To follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, find us at Meepletown Games. Finally, to connect with us and other residents of Meepletown, you can join Guild 3407 at BoardGameGeek.com. Until next time, thanks for coming down to Meepletown.